Hi everyone, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and today I'm going to be showing you the Godox UL150 LED light. This is a unique light, and if you work in sound-sensitive environments, this is the light you want because it's completely silent. Let's take a closer look what this light is all about. So how is this light able to be completely silent when other lights in the category have fans that make noise? Well, if you take a closer look at it, you're going to see all of this passive cooling here. We have big holes cut out in the metal in the top and also in the bottom, which allows air to pass through there. And if you look inside, you can kind of see this big kind of radiator looking thing. It's basically just a big cooler that sucks heat off the COB chip and disperses it out. You can see that this is a little bit wider than some of the other lights, its diameter here, and that's just to allow more space for the cooling. That way we don't have to have any fans at all in here, and it's able to still run cool. So that's the little bit of the difference of the UL150 and why it's able to run completely silent. So here's everything that's included in the box. Let's go over this real quick so you can see everything that you should have when you get your UL150. So first off, obviously, is the light, which we have over here. This is the protective cap, which I'll show you how to put on in a second. When we're not using that, we have our included reflector. Then we have our main power controller. This is how we adjust the power and the intensity on this light. And then we have the cables that control that. So we have an AC adapter right here with the plug that would go into the end here and into the wall. And then we have the other cable, and this one's going to go in the top right here and then plug into the actual light. And I should mention that this light is dual power sourced, so you're able to run into the wall with those cables, or if you don't want to do that and you happen to have V-mount batteries, perfect, because this accepts V-mount batteries, making it a really nice portable option to take on location. So staying with the control pack, we actually have two antennas right here, and those are going to screw right onto the top, which I'll show you in a minute. And then just one added accessory, this is our V-mount clip. So if we are not using the V-mount battery, this is going to go on here and hold our power brick, just to be able to keep everything a little bit more neat and tidy. One safety precaution that I want to mention before we get started is this protective cap. So this is going to come installed on your light. It's going to be fixed right there. So the very first thing you need to do, and I don't like that Godox made these clear actually, because sometimes you don't even notice that it's on there, but we can see the warning label. You need to remove that before we do anything, because if you turn the light on with that on there, you're going to melt that in about 30 seconds. So please make sure that you take that off. It's just for transport. And it disconnects just like the Bowens mount. So we have our 3 prongs here, which match our 3 prongs there. So to install it, line it up, give it a quarter turn, and it locks in. Then we have our release right here. So all I'm doing, pull the release, quarter turn the other way, it pops right out. We can set that aside, and now we're ready to mount the light, add our reflector or other accessories. So these are all the accessories that you get with the UL150. Let's take a look at how we use them. The first thing we want to do is mount this light to a stand. You can see that we have this big knob over here which controls the tilt on our yoke. And all we have to do is loosen that off to position this yoke so it'll move around. And we'll just put it kind of in a vertical position there. Lock it in. This has a nice tight grip, so it's not going to twist out of place for you. And then we're going to go to the stand mount, just back that off. And you can see here you actually have 2 holes, so you have the one on the bottom here and you have one here. We're going to be mounting this to our Strobepro stand just with the normal one, but technically you could mount this way as well. So just be aware that you do have both of those mounting options. If you were going to put this up in a ceiling or on a rafter or something, you might want to do this, so then you would have more tilt without the back hitting into the yoke. But for our purposes, let's just mount that on our Strobepro 10-foot stand, back it off till it drops on there. And then we're just going to tighten the thumb screw here, and now we're locked in. To control the tilt, like I said, we just loosen that knob, and now we can control up and down wherever we need to. From there, let's add our included reflector. So I've got our reflector right here, and this mounts just the same as that protective cap. It also mounts the exact same way as any of our Strobepro accessories. So whether you want to put a beauty dish, a softbox, an optical snoot on here, they all mount the exact same way with this 3-prong system, which is called a Bowen's mount. We just take that, line it up. Once it's in there flush, we give it a quarter turn and you're going to hear it lock in. And then to release it, we just pull the release on the top and it slides right out. So again, that goes for any accessory, any softbox that is Bowen's mount will fit this light, which gives you a lot of options to modify the light coming from this. So if you take a look at the back of the UL150 here, you can see we do not have any controls like a lot of other lights where you'd be able to adjust the power and everything. And there's a reason for that. We separate that into the control box here. That allows this head to be a lot lighter. It also allows us to have all that cooling room we were talking about before. And it also gives us the ability to run this on a V-mount battery. So all of the controls are done in this box, and we just need to prep a few things before we connect that. So the reason we have these antennas disconnected in the box is so that they don't get broken in shipping, but they're very easy to install. So you have 2 of them. You'll see the 2 little ports at the top there, and all you're going to do is screw those in. And this just enables our wireless if we're using the remote control, and these can actually be tilted out of place and you can pick up the best reception that way. On the actual control pack, we need a place to put this, so we have this little cable that's retained back in here. So if you're not using it, you can slide it down, but in our case, we're going to take that and attach it to the stand. Normally I would probably put that lower down, but for the video, I'll just hang it right there. Now we need to make the connection from the light to the control box, so let's do that now. We want to go and grab our light cable here, and both the ends basically look the same. You're going to have the 2 silver ends there. And we're going to go to the light first of all, and you can see that there's a little notch right here, and that goes to the release. So if you point that up, it's going to be a little bit easier just to line it up. Don't force those. There are pins in there that you could damage if you're trying to force that in. From there, we just do the same thing on our control box. Line up that little notch. There it is there, to the release, and pop it in like that. And again, to take those out, we have a little connection there. Push that down and pull it straight out. And I should mention that these are all metal, which is really nice. A lot of other manufacturers use plastic, which can get damaged over time. Godox uses metal, so those are going to last us forever. So there we go. We have the cable connected. Now let's show you how to use the V-mount battery with this. As I mentioned before, this is a great light to use mobile because you do have the option for V-mount batteries. These are sold separately. We do sell them at Strobepro here. We have a 90 watt hour and a 190 watt hour. This is the bigger one right here. So you'll have lots of use with this battery. So the reason it's called V-mount is just this V shape right here, which matches up to the V shape on the controller. So all we're going to do is just switch hands here, line that up, and then just slowly push down. It's going to lock in. And now this is ready to power our light. I can go right to the power button here, hold the power, turn it on, no other cables. We're ready to go shoot with this V-mount option. So if you don't have V-mounts and you're not really wanting to make that investment into the batteries, that's no problem. The light comes with an AC adapter. We're just going to take our V-mount off, and that's done with just this little button right here. Push that in, slide the V-mount up, it's going to pop off, and now we can put our AC adapter in here and plug it into the wall. So let's do that right now. To use the AC power brick, I'm going to use our included V-mount, I guess we'd call it a cradle. And what this is designed to do when we're not using a V-mount battery is to connect in here and just hold this power brick to keep everything nice and tidy. So all I'm doing, just unvelcro that, put that little power brick in there, and then you can run the Velcro just over the top. Technically, it should actually go underneath of here. goes underneath, and then this piece goes over. So then I can go over here and connect that in, just like we did with that V-mount battery. That little adapter just locks in there, and now it's holding that. So we need to make this connection into the control box though, and that is done on the bottom. So you can see right here, just the way that we did it before, we have our little release here. Line that up, connect it, and now we are good to go there, but we need to plug in the actual cable into the wall. I haven't unbundled this just because it's a super long cable, but basically that is just going to go into the bottom right here. You'll see the little power connection right there, plug in there and go directly into the wall, and then we can run AC. Now these cables are quite long, so we've got a big cord here. This cable obviously is all bundled up, so we can make that extension go way up if we need to get this light up higher. So there you have it. We have the AC option, the battery option, 2 power sources to run this light. Makes it very useful. I've added the Strobepro 32-inch Rapid Pro globe onto the LED here. It's just a very popular modifier, spreads a lot of light onto the scene, so you can check out all the details on that. But I have put the V-mount battery back on here, and we're just going to power that way to keep the cables out. And this is just a really easy controller. Essentially, we have our power button here. If we hold that, it's going to turn on and light up. You're going to see our power level on here, indicated at 100% right there. And then we can just run the dial up and down. So that's just this wheel here you spin. And the nice thing about this light is it goes all the way down to 0%. So what I mean is a lot of lights on the market only go down to 10%. So if I go up to 10%, that might still be too much light for a particular scene that you're shooting. So again, we can go all the way down to 1%, just giving us that fine and accurate control there. Or you might be all the way up at 100, and that's easy to do as well. You'll also see that we have our group and channel on there. So let me show you how to control those right now. I showed you how to control the brightness directly from the control unit just by using the dial, which is really easy. But you can control this with an optional controller as well, which is right here. This is the RC-A5ii, and it's a fairly basic controller, but what we have to do before we use this is set our group and our channel on the actual control unit, and you can see F indicates our group, and down there CH1, that's our channel. So if I go and hit this button one time, that controls our channel. You'll see it blink there, and I can adjust the channel to whatever I want. Just pick one of them. There's no right or wrong answer there. If I push it again, that's going to highlight my group, and I can rotate between A and F. So you might find groups useful because you could put multiple lights on the same group, and then they're going to adjust the same way. So if you have 2 lights on your background on group A, and then a main light on B and a fill light on C, that gives you a lot of control that way. But just make sure that they're all using the same channel. Those individual lights would have a different group, but the same channel, otherwise they're not going to work. And so then I would just go over and do the same thing with my group and channel button on my remote. And once that's synced up, you can see that it just flipped down to 26 because the controller, every time you use it, will always override what's on here. So again, if I'm 35, as soon as I hit this plus button, it goes back down to what the controller is showing. And then I can just adjust it as necessary, bringing it all the way up, holding it, it's going to go faster. And one thing I should mention about this controller, it's really weird. It's one of those Godox things that don't make sense. I talked before that this light goes down all the way to 0%, but unfortunately this controller actually only goes down to 25%. So just be aware of that. If you do need to go lower, you're going to have to do it either on the app or just on the unit itself to adjust that. So there you have it. I should just mention again, or for the first time actually, you'll see this 5600. That's our color temperature, which means 5600 Kelvin, which is daylight balanced. And you see 4,000 over here. Don't worry about this. This controller also works on other bicolor lights where we would be able to adjust that. For our case, it doesn't matter, so it doesn't really matter what this is set to. That's everything you need to know about the Godox UL150 LED light. This light is completely silent, and here's an unedited clip of the audio. As you can tell, there's no fan noise because we have no fans in this light. It's a great light if you work in sound-sensitive environments, so you can pick up the UL150, or if you don't need as much power, the UL60 is also a great option. We can run this on AC power, or we can pick up optional Strobepro V-mount batteries as well. So check out all the options at Strobepro.com, and until next time, enjoy creating.